Boom. And then we have our new kick ready to go, ready to use in a track. Hello everyone, I'm back, and it's time once again to commune with the music production gods. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can extract a kick from any track. I did a video on sampling a kick a few years ago, but this is a different method, a multi-dimensional, multi-layered approach that definitely yields cleaner results when extracting a kick from a really busy section of a track with lots of elements over top of it. So let's get into it. The track that we'll be pulling a kick from is this remix by Greenidge. If you're not familiar with Greenidge, he's a super talented producer and DJ from India. I love his work. Go check him out if you're not familiar with his music. I played this track a bunch in live DJ gigs. It works great on the dance floor. The kick sounds amazing on a big club rig, so I thought it was a good track for the example. Now, obviously, you want to pick a kick that's as exposed and as naked as possible. You're going to get the best results that way. In this particular track, the intro it's not low cut, so we have a nice full-bodied kick. So it makes sense to grab a kick in this section when there's not a bunch of elements on top of it, or there's less elements on top of it. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I picked a kick out that I want to sample. Here's what it sounds like. So, there's some hats there. There's kind of a tonal element in there. So there's definitely some work to be done to extract that and have a nice clean kick to use. One other thing to mention is you want to be nice and tight on the grid. So on this track, the front of the track's really tightly trimmed. So all I needed to do was match the tempo of the track to my project tempo, and I was good to go. But you might need to, nudge things around on the grid in really small, fine increments to get things nice and tight and locked in. So if you need to do that, you can, increase your resolution value by going to your settings, go to the project tab, and then use the PPQ, or select a higher PPQ value so you have a larger zoom resolution, so you can really get in there close and nudge things around. Okay, so I have the kick here that I want to sample, so let's cut it out. I'm going to grab it, I'm going to pull it down here. Let's mute the main track for now. So now that I have the kick isolated, pulled out, I want to make this unique as a sample, so we're just working with this one isolated kick in audio. So I'm going to right click, make unique as sample, and save that bad boy. There we go. All right, so the next thing is I want to split this up into 3 different frequency bands, 3 different layers, and that way I can treat them, slightly differently. There's multiple ways to go about this. You could use something like Edison. So if you right click, go to Edit Sample, you could use the EQ to isolate the low end, and then you can preview it. Once you're happy with it, hit accept, and then just drag it into the playlist and do that for the low, mid, and high band. I'm not going to use this method because honestly I find this EQ super annoying and fiddly to work with, so I'm going to do it a different way. I just wanted to mention that this is an option to use Edison for this. I'm going to put this into the mixer, and what I'll do is grab something like the imager. I'm not using this for the imaging. I'm using it to split up the frequency bands because I can easily, move these frequency bands around, solo them. That's exactly what I need. But I don't need this top band, so I'm going to remove this one, and let's kind of isolate the 3 different bands here. So the first one will be the low end. We'll try something like 150. That That sounds nice. I think that will work. Let's hop over to the mids, solo the mids. Let's move this up a little bit. Maybe like 3.5. I think that will work. 3.5 I think will work great. And then we'll just check the top. Yeah, that works great. Okay, you don't need to copy these values exactly. You can, play around with it a little bit. I wouldn't recommend going higher than 200 though. On the low end, I'd probably keep it somewhere between 100 and 200 personally. But yeah. The next thing we're going to do is make 3 different copies of this kick. So I'm going to clone this, pull this in, let's rename it. This is going to be our low. Our mid. And the high. Cool. Let's just mute this one for a second. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to reset these actually. And I'm going to highlight the low, mid, and the high. I'll go to the next track, which is track 31, and show you a nice little hotkey here. If you use Shift Control L, it's going to route those selected tracks to this mixer, or starting from this track, and automatically name them for us as well. Boom. Shift Control L. All right, so we have those there. Now what we're going to do is grab the imager, and I'm going to put an instance on each one of them. So we're going to put one on the low, and we're going to solo the low band. And we're going to repeat that process for the mid and the high. Solo the mids. And do it one more time. So put one on the high. And solo the high band. Cool. We can get rid of this imager here. We don't need that. So now if I play back this kick, it should sound exactly like all 3 of these playing together. And it does. Good. So now what we want to do is render these out. So let's do that. And we're just going to disrecord, render to WAV files, and start. There we go. Now we have the low, we have the mid, and we have the high band isolated. So let's send these to the mixer. I'm just going to put these on track. I'll put them on track 35 here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is actually just change this to generic bleeding for each of them. That will put a nice little fade on the end. And then I'm going to change the grid to none. So on the low band here, you can hear at the end, there's kind of you could hear the very start of the hi-hat transient. So I just want to maybe get rid of that. So I'm just going to just do a little fade there on the end. And then on the mid, we don't need it to be this long. That's where a lot of the stuff we don't need is happening in this area here. And we have kind of the hat. There's kind of a little tonal element in there, so we can just shorten this right up. Yeah, I'm just going to make that nice and tight, just nice and short like that. And then we're going to do the same for the top end. All I want is that very first little initial transient. So I'll probably just bring this right in. Yeah. In some cases, you might want, you know, a little bit more of this mid band. You might want that to be a little bit longer, but in this case, I think it sounds best just nice and tight and really short. Cool. So now we have our 3 bands. We can render this out. Actually, first, what I want to do is make this mono. So let's just, I'm just going to grab the imager here and let's just check the stereo image on this. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much mono, but you just never know. Just to be sure, I usually like to make it mono before I render it out. So I'm just going to merge this here. Make that mono, and then we'll render it out. Boom, and then we have our new kick ready to go, ready to use in a track. There you have it. That's how to sample a kick using multiple layers, kind of multi-layering, multiple layer sampling. Hopefully you found that useful. Leave me a comment or question. I'll get back to you. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you want feedback on your tracks, there's a link in the description. Take care. We'll see you soon.